Hey everyone, welcome to the Untrivial podcast. My name is Allie Nelson. I hope you're doing well this week. We are back after a couple weeks off. My whole family and I were super sick the last couple of weeks. And then I had also just wrapped up my spring semester with school. And so it's been a chaotic and busy time. But I'm actually now in Florida with my family. We are escaping the ice storm and the winter that is still going on in Toronto. And so I'm actually on a patio right now. I'm so sorry to rub it in, but it's just been so nice to get away. And our son is hanging out with grandma. We're getting some sunshine and just really relaxing as we head into April. I'm really excited. I have April off of school before I start my summer semester of my master's. So, really looking forward to spending more time with family and also just diving into this podcast even more. My guest today is Dr. Mary Alice Mina. Dr. Mina is a Harvard trained dermatologist, international speaker, author, and host of the Skin Real podcast. As a co owner of Baucom Mina Derm Surgery in Atlanta, Georgia, she is a leading expert in procedural dermatology, skin health, and skincare. With nearly 2 decades of clinical experience, Dr. Mina is celebrated for her artistic eye, surgical precision, and ability to help patients feel radiant at every stage of life. Her insights have been featured in People magazine, The Wall Street Journal, Glamour, and in this episode of Untrivial, we dive into all things skincare and skin health. Today, we discuss different skin types and how to build a routine that works for you, skincare requirements for everyone, no matter their skin type, lasers, botox, surgeries, and celebs, skin cancer prevention, what's hype and what's worth it, and so much more. If you are someone like me who knows a little bit about skincare, but has definitely fallen for products hyped up on social media and maybe just doesn't really know what's important versus what isn't, hopefully this conversation brings you a bit of clarity and gives some foundational information on where to start and where to invest. And now, let's get into the episode. Dr. Mina, welcome to the Untrivial podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Allie. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, you are, of course, a dermatologist, but I would love for those who don't know you to share a little bit about your background and how you got into the space. And I'm just so excited to be talking all about skin with you today. But what's your story?
Yeah, well, so I am a board certified dermatologist and a dermatologic surgeon. I practice in Atlanta, Georgia. I have my own practice. I have a business partner as well. And I just have a lot of fun. Like, I just came from a super busy day today. I treated skin cancers of all different types. I got to do a blepharoplasty on someone to help open their eyes. I got to do lasers and some rejuvenation and such a variety of different things. And I got to train our fellow and our resident and do a charity case. So that's what I love about dermatology, right? There's so much you can do. There's such a variety. You can truly be life-saving, but you can also do stuff that maybe isn't life-saving, but really makes a difference in someone's life. Because you make them feel better about themselves because the skin is so visible. People see it. They don't see their high blood pressure necessarily, right? But they see the scar or the skin cancers or the acne, stuff like that. So I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. And I realized a couple years ago, as I was hitting midlife and turning 40, that my friends had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions. What's going on? Things are changing. And I thought, well, you know what? People are asking me, I'm getting asked the same questions all the time. Let me do a podcast that can really answer these questions for people because it's hard to see a dermatologist. Here in the US, it's very hard to have more than a 10-minute visit the way our insurance is. And it's frustrating for patients, for me. And I wanted to be able to give people just real information about skincare. So that's why I call it the Skin Real. And I hope it's helpful for people who are maybe just struggling in this overwhelm in the skincare space and not really sure how to navigate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, thank you so much for that introduction. That was incredible and spoke to so many things I want to ask you about today, from skin cancers to lasers and all of those things that you do. But you're right. I feel like, especially at the time of life when you're approaching your 30s, 40s, there is so much information out there. It's so hard to tell now with social media what's real, what's not. People will swear by something, but who's to say if that's going to work for you? And so I love being able to talk to you, someone who really knows their stuff, is board certified, and we can get into all those questions today. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start with just kind of a basic one, some skin 101. So obviously we know there's different skin types. So, some people have oily skin, dry skin, combination skin. Like, what causes that and what does that really mean for us?
Well, a lot of times it's based on our genetic makeup, right? We don't really get to choose. You might be born with and have really oily skin, and then you probably struggle with acne in your teenage years. You might be born with really sensitive skin, eczema prone skin, and that really affects like even the little ones, right?
Mm,
And you can have that sort of underline your skin for your whole life. Some lucky people get normal skin, right? Some people get combination skin. So a lot of it is just kind of what you're born with. It's not like you really are doing anything to make your skin oily or dry or sensitive, but it does change. That's something I've noticed too. Is my skin's getting drier, and I also seem to be a little more sensitive to stuff that I used to be able to tolerate really well. So it's not like it's set in stone and it's never going to change, but most people know my skin is so oily. I have to use those blotting things, or I feel like I'm super shiny. And other people know, oh man, I can't use certain products because I'm so prone to rashes and my eczema flaring. So a lot of people just innately, I think, know kind of what their skin is, but don't be surprised if it does change over your lifetime. So that can
mhm.
happen.
Yeah. I'm unfortunate to have combination skin. So it's like oily some places, dry others. You've got the worst of both worlds.
That's right.
But
Good luck.
yeah, there's just so much out there. And, obviously certain things are made for different skin types. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about these like skincare buzzwords that I think a lot of people are hearing pretty often. So, retinol, collagen, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C. Like, I hear a lot about these things. I hear they're good. But what are the truths and like what is hype? What would you say?
Allie, I'll have to say you are not alone. I feel that way too, right? And this is what I do. I'll go to these conferences or go to the drugstore. I'm like, do I should I know about that? Oh, I haven't heard about this. Why is everyone talking about beef tallow?
Right. That's a
But
new one.
yeah, right. Like throw that in the mix. So I tend to be just as I think a lot of your listeners, I'm busy. I have a lot of stuff going on, and I just can't spend an hour a day on my skincare beauty routine. Like I want it to be effective. I want to look good, but I'm not willing to spend that kind of time or money on these like complicated routines. I just don't have the energy to do that. So you really don't need to be doing all these things. And you have to remember too, these companies are trying to sell you products, right? So
Yeah.
they always have to reinvent the moisturizer or certain product and now make that product a solo product. So you have to understand they want you to buy. That's the goal, right? But what I tell people is, figure out what you need, what works for your skin, and then you don't need to change it, right? I've been using the same cleanser for decades and I've tried other ones and other ones are great, but the one I have works. So why switch it up? Like I'm going to stick with my Dove Beauty Bar. It's super easy. So you don't have to change things up just because an advertisement told you that this is the new buzzword or whatever. The other thing is a lot of these products like hyaluronic acid, ceramides, niacinamide,
Mm,
these are most likely already in the stuff you're using. So before going out and buying a product that just has that, single ingredient in it, look at what you're actually using. You'd probably be surprised. Oh, my moisturizer actually does have that in it, or my retinol does have that. I would say just for the basics, you got to have a cleanser, you've got to have a moisturizer, and you need to have sunscreen. So those are
mhm,
for like the true minimalist. That's really all you need. If you want to have a few extras like me, you can use a vitamin C serum in the morning, and then you can add on a retinol or retinoid in the evening. Now, I don't really struggle with hyperpigmentation, but if you do struggle with hyperpigmentation, vitamin C is a slam dunk. I definitely would recommend it. And I really recommend a retinol or retinoid really to everyone who's in their 20s plus. Don't take
mhm.
it if you're pregnant. You just hold off on those those months. But otherwise, I think that is a no-brainer. If you just do retinol, retinoid, and sunscreen, and you start that in your 20s or even 30s, your skin is going to look phenomenal in your 50s and your 60s. So I think don't underestimate the power of just doing small but important things, and starting as soon as you can really makes an impact.
That's really good to know. Yeah, I'm breastfeeding right now, so I don't think I can take retinol or I can't use retinol at the moment. But the second I'm done, I'm gonna go
Well,
right back to it.
actually, we do say it's okay during breastfeeding.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's and even Botox, they said that really is okay. The thing with pregnancy is we don't know, and no one's going to do the studies, and we do know
yeah.
that the oral form of retinol, retinoid is isotretinoin called Accutane, and we do know that has severe birth defects, and so people have just kind of extrapolated, well, then you probably shouldn't use the topical variety. But really, I don't want people freaking out. If you can use it, but once you find out you're pregnant, you should stop. But breastfeeding should be fine. I wouldn't let your baby touch your face, lick your
Right.
face, or put their mouth on your face right after you put it on. But other than that, you should be fine.
That's so good to know. And then tretinoin versus retinoids or retinol, is there a difference there?
Yeah, it's confusing, right?
Yeah.
So, retinols are over the counter and retinoids are prescriptions. And
Okay.
retinoids are retinoic acid, which is the active ingredient. And so they are stronger, which means they're more effective, more powerful, but they also have more side effects. So they can be a little more irritating and drying. My theory is, look, just try to do the prescription strength if you can and like really get the most bang for your buck. But I know there's some people who really can't, and there's nothing wrong with starting with the retinol. I'd rather you use a retinol than nothing at all. So retinols are over the counter, and then retinoids are prescriptions, of which tretinoin is the most common one. But you might hear names like Retin-A, that's a
Yeah.
trade name as well. So that's a
Gotcha.
prescription.
Yeah. The other thing that makes it so complicated, these words are just like not normal words, right? So everyone's like,
What are you
oh,
talking
yeah,
about?
niacinamide. It's like no one knows what that means. No one knows
Yeah.
what that is, whether it's a name of a type of drug, if it's the actual
Right.
compound. Like it's really hard to maneuver through this. But you brought up a point earlier that I think is so important, which is the marketing piece. And like so much of what we see online is people trying to sell you stuff. Like influencers are trying to sell you things, even if they swear by it that it worked for them. Like that might not be the case, and it might not be the case for you. And you bring up a good point of this idea of getting off the hot girl hamster wheel. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, yeah. I feel like my hair looks like I just took a spin on the hot girl hamster wheel looking in the camera right now. But yeah, so the hot girl hamster wheel is this like nonstop wheel of beauty and personal care that we start on, especially as women. And I joke it starts out like, oh, a little Botox here, maybe get a facial, maybe get an LED face mask. And then, each year we add on, oh, now I
Yeah.
got to start coloring my hair. Oh, now I got to start doing filler. Or now I do sculpture. Now I do laser. Now I do gua sha. Now I do, it's all these things keep adding on. And it's like we're just doing all these things, trying to stay afloat and just try to preserve our beauty and our youth. And it gets just overwhelming. And then you end up hating all of it. You're not really enjoying it. You feel like they're chores. And so I just encourage people to be okay eliminating stuff and actually like doing an audit of what you do. Like, right, if you actually sit down and write out for a 90-day period all the things you do, like beauty, personal care wise,
Yeah.
what products you're using, what's your routine, are you using 10 things, how often are you getting X, Y, and Z done, and then I have people actually write out what it costs, because I think when you add that up it's pretty astounding.
Mm.
How often do you have to do it, right? Is this something you're going in, like eyelashes, right? People love eyelashes. You go in every 3 weeks, or for your nails every 2 to 3 weeks. That adds up, right?
Hmm.
And then it's important to rank how much you enjoy it, because if you truly love it and you love what it does, like I really love Botox. My skin looks brighter. I just feel like I look like I went on a great vacation and I want to keep doing it. Yes, it's every 4 to 6 months, but I'm cool with that, right? But I don't do other things. So, list how much you enjoy it, and the things that are, the ones that you hate, just get rid of them. It's okay to get rid of them. You don't need it. And I bet if you stop doing it, you won't even see a difference in how you look. And I think sometimes we just keep adding things on without realizing it's okay to kind of purge and declutter that
Yeah.
part of our life. Just like you might go through your closet, right? After a while, you're like, whoa, I need to really go through this and see what I really need, what I don't.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy too, because you can end up with one of these like 15-step nighttime routines, and
Oh,
it's just like
yeah,
not feasible for over the course of your life. Maybe if you're younger and you don't have many obligations and you really enjoy that, or you
sure.
really want to create space, but like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Like spending an hour on skincare morning or night, like it's just not possible for a lot of people, and it is very expensive for
Yeah.
sure.
It really adds up.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say like I joke that I was a hot girl once, so I know what that feels like. I mean, I used to do my hair. I would wash, I would like condition, I would dry it with a hairbrush, and then I would curl it every morning in like college and med school. And I
Hmm.
would put on makeup like foundation and lipstick and blush and contour and all these things. I would spray tan. I would do all these things. I mean, I think it took me an hour and a half every morning just to feel like I could be presentable to the world. And that I just can't believe I spent that much time. Also, when I was in medical school, it wasn't like I had nothing else to do. So I just joke if I could go back to my 20-something-year-old self and like tell her I want those hours back, but it's not necessary. It's not sustainable. And
Hmm.
it stops becoming enjoyable. It just becomes a chore.
Yeah, it's just that like unique cost to women, unfortunately, to
Right.
be presentable in our culture, which is just so, oh, a whole other conversation there. But
Yes.
kind of on that topic of, going after youth and wanting to preserve our youth. And I think it's so natural to care about that. And there's lots of different things we can do. Skincare is one of them. But you also mentioned you do things like Botox, lasers, blepharoplasty, like you're in the surgery space as well. So like I guess my question around that is in terms of those maybe a little bit more intensive treatments outside of just moisturizing and serums, what would you say is worth the hype versus not worth the hype?
Yeah. Well, it really depends what you need. So I also talk about people, I get this question a lot like, what do I really need to do? No, tell me, like, what do I need to do? And I'll tell people you have to figure out what are your skin needs and then what are your skin goals. And that's how you get your skin habits. So your needs are going to be different. Are you struggling with acne? Do you have rosacea? Or do you have sensitive skin? Do you have scarring? Do you struggle with hyperpigmentation? What are the issues that your skin you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis? And then what are your goals? So I'll say my mom, I mean, I couldn't pay her to do a single cosmetic procedure. I mean, I can't even get her to use a retinol. She just has no interest. She is truly the cleanser, sunscreen, moisturizer woman, and she's beautiful. And her goal is that's her goal. Like she has no desire to do these other things, and that's fine. Versus someone who wants to try everything out and play around with everything and have fun, and they have very different goals, right? So everyone's going to be a little bit different, and I think we fall into this thought that we have to do what our friends are doing or the people we see on TV or Instagram or social media, right? And you don't. I mean, if the Kardashians did the sperm facial, it doesn't mean you have to do that. You don't. If you are like, no, but I'm curious and I want to try it, fine. But everyone's going to be different. And I would just say, see someone who actually understands the skin globally, like a dermatologist who is not just trying to sell you on the one device or laser that they have in their office or Botox, and everyone gets Botox and they follow the same pattern and they don't really understand how the muscles work and your anatomy and all that. And a lot of times patients will come into me and they'll say, well, you tell me what I need. And I do like to hear what bothers people. So if there's something like, oh, that scar, I always have this scar and it really bothers me, or the dark circles under my eyes bother me. I mean, that's helpful to hear because then I can suggest things that could be helpful. There are a lot of stuff that we can do nowadays. We have a lot of devices, we have a lot of procedures, but I think it's important to realize nothing's magic. Nothing is going to make you 20 years younger. We can make you look amazing and look great, but aging does happen. And I don't think we necessarily have to be afraid of it. Yes, like I want to age as well as I possibly can, but I also want to still look like me. I don't want to look bizarre in this sort of weird, ageless, not ageless in the good way, but just
Right.
like what happened there. So again, I think that's where seeing someone who isn't afraid to tell you no, they're not just trying to sell you something. They really have your best interest at heart and really are looking at you from sort of a global picture. I think that's really the best thing. Don't just shop around for the best deal. Don't just, sometimes people say, oh, well, I hear the Moxie laser. I want the Moxie laser. It's like, well, you don't really need the Moxie laser, right? Do you know why people get the Moxie laser? What's it for? Like, you don't really struggle with that. So I think sometimes we just hear the brand name and then people want it and they don't really need it. And then they're kind of wasting money. And these things aren't cheap. So
Mm.
at least for me, I'd like to, if I'm going to spend the money on something, I want to make sure I'm really getting the greatest return on my investment.
Yeah. So I guess the lesson there is like, don't trust your favorite influencer. Go see a dermatologist
Yeah.
and actually get someone to assess your skin, which I love that advice. But speaking of celebrities and agelessness, what are your thoughts on like the celebrities like, oh, who is it? Like Christina Aguilera and Shania Twain, who've had these like massive transformations and they genuinely do look like 20 years younger. Like, do you know what they've done and like what's going on there?
Well, I haven't seen them in particular. I do know Lindsay Lohan. Like she
Yes,
had
her too.
a great, she looks amazing, right?
Yeah,
Or I look at people like Tom Cruise, like he really doesn't look like he's aging. I mean, he is aging when you compare, but he looks great. So whatever they're doing, they're doing it right. Unfortunately, the problem is it's a really slippery slope, and I feel for celebrities and people who are in the public eye because we don't let them age, right? We don't let them have flaws. We are always there, and I say we like collectively, right? Like not Allie.
right.
Yeah. But we're so quick to, oh, she's looking old. Like I think Brooke Shields has a book talking about how she's all the names she's been called, whether she's not aging well or she's trying too hard. It's like you can't win for losing. So just that I'll say is like I do feel for these people who so much of their job is wrapped around what they look like. I would not want that. But yes, there are some celebrities who have just done an amazing job of still looking like themselves. They've had stuff done. It does annoy me when I hear them say, "Oh, I've never had Botox and never
Right.
done this," and you're like, "Of course, you absolutely have." Maybe you had Dysport and not Botox, but it's it's the same. So I don't know 100% what they're doing, but they do look great, and I think that's really, I mean, that's my goal, right? Where people can't really like, oh yeah, she had this done, or she had a cheek implant, or she had this. It's just that you look great. You look refreshed. You look like you got a good night's sleep. But unfortunately, it's tricky because when we're staring at ourselves or we start doing these things, we can get this thing called perception drift where we forget what we looked like to start with.
Mm,
And then we only know what we look like at that moment. And then that's when things can get a little crazy and weird. And we become fixated on certain, flaws, whether they're real or not. And we try to do everything to fix that, forgetting where we came from. And then that's the slippery slope where things start to look bizarre.
yeah. I've heard of like there's this thing on TikTok called like eyebrow blindness, but there's also like lip filler blindness. So it's almost like you don't even realize how big your lips have already transformed and you
Exactly.
continuously think that you need more and more and more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. And it's like you look in the mirror, but what you see is not whatever you just in your mind, you still need bigger lips. So yeah, it's and this body dysmorphia. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely a real thing. And I think we are so fixated on what we look like nowadays. We're staring at ourselves all the time, Zoom meetings,
Yeah.
taking pictures of ourselves. And now, instead of just being compared to our community, like in the olden days, now we have the world to compare ourselves to. So
Yeah.
it's not easy, certainly. And yeah, again, for me, it's like just try to cancel out that noise. If someone has images and stuff, or they're portraying like a very fake life and they're saying, I don't do any of these things, but they have, it's like, I don't have time for it. I try to put my phone away and just like live in my real, like around people who are real, because it can be discouraging for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about practices we can adopt that help our skin that aren't necessarily skin related. So, like diet, exercise, hydration, like, are those things a big factor in what our skin looks like? Or how would you weigh them in terms of how we actually end up looking?
Yeah, no, I would say they're huge. But
Okay.
instead, we focus on what products, what actives, what topicals are we using? And we think of skincare or skin health from sort of the outside in, when I wish people realize our skin is an organ. First of all, I think people think our skin is just our face,
Yeah.
right? They forget that our
The
skin
whole body.
is the whole body is covered in skin, and it actually has it's aesthetics and everything that goes with that is an important component of our skin and society and all that for since the for hundreds of years, right? But there are other important features of our skin as well, and our skin reflects how our inner body is performing, and if we're sick or not. And that's another thing I love about derm, is that I can tell, I can look at someone's nails and say, oh, you
Mm,
might have liver problems or lung problems, or I could see a rash on someone and realize there's something going on internally with them that needs to be evaluated. So the skin is this sort of window into the rest of our body. And when our body internally is sick or inflamed or stressed or not being taken care of, guess what? Our skin shows that. You can't diet and eat barely any calories or smoke or drink and expect your skin to look bright and vibrant. All the
yeah.
retinoid in the world and Botox is not going to do that. So I think people need to realize taking care of their body is such an important component of their skin health. And I don't think we give enough attention to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking about that too, in terms of, we've talked a lot about our skincare on our face, our cleanser, our moisturizer. What should we be doing with the skin on our body? Should we be moisturizing daily? Are there any other practices in terms of that topical side that we should be working on too with our body skin?
Yeah. So, yeah, we do need to take care of our body skin. And I wish I had known when you're doing your skincare on your face, to extend it onto your neck. I wish I had done
Yeah.
that sooner. So, your sunscreen should go on your neck, and also the décolletage, the chest area. If you are wearing shorts or short sleeves, or really any skin that's exposed, if you're bald, your head, you need to wear sunscreen there. So, don't just put it on your face and forget all these other areas, as you get sun damage there too. Yes, our skin on other parts of our body gets dry, your elbows, your heels, your arms, your legs. So we need to moisturize that skin as well. Yeah, I think we just forget about the rest of our skin, don't we? You can even put your retinoid on your neck, your chest, the top of your hands. You can put it on, the rest of your body too. But those are kind of the common areas that get a lot of sun damage. But I would say, yes, take care of all your skin, but also the skin that's really exposed to sun, which tends to be the front of the legs, the tops of the arms, the hands, neck, and chest. Those are important areas to remember, especially with sun protection.
Yeah, the neck is such a good point, because I feel like there's people who say your neck is like the first place where you can see that age, because I think that's the habit. People take care of their face, but then they forget about that, but it's still extremely visible even when you're wearing clothes and things like that. So that's a
Yes,
really great
yeah.
point. Speaking of that damage, I wanted to talk a little bit about the skin cancer side of things and prevention. Is there anything that we should know in terms of, making sure that we don't end up with skin cancer? I know tanning beds are absolute no, which unfortunately for me is almost like a more recent development. Like I went all the time when
Oh,
I was in high
oh
school.
no.
I know, I know. But what else would you say is important in terms of skin health and cancer prevention?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is skin cancer treatments and Mohs surgery. And skin cancers in general, the most common ones are basal cell carcinomas and squamous cell carcinomas. And a lot of people, I'm surprised, have never heard about those yet. They are so common that for so many years we haven't even really studied them in depthly. And now we are sort of like splitting out basal cells and squamous cells. And we're definitely seeing huge rises with these. And that's because they develop after cumulative sun damage. So, sun damage that adds up each
Mm.
decade of life since even as a child. And so we tend to see these in older adults, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. However, I just saw a guy yesterday in his 20s with his second basal cell. So I do see younger people with this, and I just really try to stress it's cumulative sun damage. So right now you might think, but I'm 20, I'm good. I don't want to wear a hat that looks stupid. But if you want beautiful skin in your 50s, wear sunscreen now. My patients with the loveliest, most gorgeous skin in their 60s, 70s, 80s have sun protected. And a lot of people can just look at the skin on their stomach and then compare it to the skin on sun exposed, like their arms, and like hold it together next to it and see, is there a difference or does the skin look the same? If it doesn't look the same, then you need to be a little more vigilant with sun protection and maybe do some measures to help erase some of that sun damage. It's frustrating because by the time people develop skin cancers, a lot of the damage is already done. And
Mm.
that's really, really frustrating to my patients, especially the ones who are older now, because they say, well, we just didn't know. And they're not wrong. We didn't have the awareness that we have nowadays. Their parents told them to go outside, don't wear, they didn't have shirts and shoes, and they played all day outside and came home when it was dark, right? And people would tell them, oh, you need to get a tan so you look healthy. So unfortunately, they're not wrong that it's much harder to go back and reverse that. You really can't.
Mm.
So prevention is so key. It's just that people who are young, they don't really think about skin cancers. So what I found is it actually speaks more to younger people to talk about how their skin's going to age and they're going
Mm.
to have wrinkles earlier because they can see that a little bit sooner than a basal cell that might pop up in their 50s.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say someone went on vacation to like Mexico or somewhere down south and they wanted to get a tan, are you kind of anti laying out in the sun even if you have sunscreen on, or is the sunscreen okay and you can still do that?
No, I mean, I am not a fan of laying out in the sun. Any
Dang.
tan, I know, any tan is a sign of sun damage. That's your body's
Right.
safety mechanism to protect the nucleus of your cells that carry all your DNA. It forms a little cap, a little umbrella over the nucleus with pigment to protect it from UV radiation. So I think we need to, the sun is emitting radiation, right? Like you
Uh-huh.
wouldn't go sit in a box if I said, hey, this has radiation in it, but just go do it. You would say no way. Here's the issue with rubbing sunscreen on. Most people don't apply it thickly enough. I'm guilty too, right? We always miss places, okay? Like without fail, you realize, oh shoot, I didn't really rub it in over my shoulder. And we don't reapply, we sweat it off. And so I don't think just relying on sunscreen alone is enough. So I really think if you really shouldn't have the sun beating down on you directly like you're in a spit, like rotating, being cooked, because that's just damaging and aging your skin. So I'm not a proponent of that. I think you should just embrace whatever color skin you have, whether it is, all the way to the lightest to all the way to the darkest. I would love for people just to embrace what they have. But if you are someone who's like, I just want a tan, then go get a spray tan or use a self tanner. Those are fine.
Yeah, and we're so lucky we have so many options with self tanners these days too that are Not gonna do that damage. All right,
Right.
that's a tough pill to swallow for me,
How
but
about,
it
yeah,
makes
what about
sense.
sitting in the shade or you got to feel that sun on you, huh?
Yeah. Well, I have like very fair skin, so I can't sit in the direct sun anyway, but I'll put my
Okay.
legs in the direct sun and then I'll keep the rest of me in the shade or else I'll just burn.
Well, yeah, you just got to be careful because you don't want a skin cancer on a leg. Those are
That's
incredibly
true.
slow to heal and difficult.
Good to know. I want to do some worth the hype or not worth the hype for specific treatments. Really
Okay,
rapid fire with you,
let's do
okay?
it.
Okay. Red light therapy masks.
Well, we know that red light, there is some data to show it's helpful. I have never tried it personally, but actually I'm kind of intrigued by it. I don't use an at-home one. If you want to try it, I think it's totally fine. They are expensive and you have to be consistent with it. And me personally, I just think there are better ways to boost collagen, but there's some people who love it. I'm not against it. I would say, it's not hype. So if you want to do it, go for it.
Great. Microneedling.
Not hype. It's great. Again, don't expect it to be a CO2 or ablative laser, but I do this pretty regularly in my office. It's great for younger patients or people with scars. It can work for most skin types. And it's a nice little refresh for people. So again, I think microneedling's a great option.
Awesome. Morpheus 8.
Well, this one is tricky. I know there's been a ton of hype over Morpheus 8. They had incredible marketing. I have tried it just to kind of see what the hype was about. I can't say I really noticed a difference, but my
Ooh.
girlfriend did it on her neck and she showed me her photos and there was a difference. So I think it's one of those for some people, it does seem to have a benefit. I didn't find the benefit from it, but yeah, I'm sort of like, it's a lot of money. I don't know if that's where I would spend my money.
Gotcha. Hydrofacials.
I have never had a facial, which people,
Really?
yeah, people can't believe. But again, I'm like, well, I don't feel like I really need it. But hydrofacials, people love them. And I think this is a great way for people to embrace self care. So if you are doing it, I mean, I think there was like a small study that said it might improve acne. If you've got severe acne or a major skin concern, hydrofacial is not going to solve all your problems. But if this is your way of treating yourself, relaxing, go for it.
Awesome. Okay, two left. Microdermabrasion or like any kind of more intense exfoliant.
So my husband just the other day was like, "What's microdermabrasion?" I was like, "I don't really know." So I believe this is something done in med spas or with estheticians. I do dermabrasion on scars in my office, but I honestly am not familiar with microdermabrasion. I'm not a big fan of these exfoliation things like dry brushing or that. I don't know. I don't know what really purpose it serves per se. But again, if you think your skin looks amazing after doing it and it's not damaging your skin barrier, then I guess go for it if you like. But I don't, again, I sort of feel like there are better things you could do.
And then, those like new face, they're like these little machines and it's
Yeah.
supposed to like lift immediately. What about those?
I wish, trust me, I would be doing it right now on our call if it did. I haven't seen convincing data that it works. Again, these things are expensive. You have to do it all the time. Yeah, so I just feel like your time and money's spent better doing other things.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing rapid fire with me. As we're wrapping up here, so I know we talked a little bit about cleanser, moisturizer, and sunscreen, and then potentially some vitamin C. Is there anything else that you think any listener could take away and say, this is important for your skincare routine, regardless of their skin type, regardless of who they are?
I would say not to like beat a dead horse, but sun protection is so key. If you do nothing and take care of your body, right? Take care of your physical health, your exercise. Don't just do cardio. Don't just try to be skinny. Actually lift weights and do resistant training. That's super helpful, especially as you get older. Sleep. I don't know why it took me until I was 44 to actually prioritize my sleep, but that is, getting a good night's rest is going to do more for your skin than a lot of stuff. So taking care of your body, knowing that skincare is whole body care, and prevention is key. And if you sun protect, no matter what color you are, then that will get you 80–90% of where you want to be down the road. And you won't need to be doing your LED face masking, your new face, your soft wave or new face, and all those other things, because you've done the most important work. So I would say just try to focus on prevention and optimizing your health in general.
I love that. I know we said that your skin care should be specific to you, but you obviously look incredible and you're a dermatologist. You mentioned you use a Dove Beauty Bar, but what are the other brands that you swear by?
Yes. Okay. Unsponsored. But hey, Dove, I'm willing to be sponsored. Yeah, no, I started using the Dove Beauty Bar probably in residency, where my pediatric dermatologist colleagues would recommend it for the little babies, and I thought, all right, I'm going to give it a try. I didn't have any money, and the price point was great. You can use it on your face and your body, and it works. I mean, it's not sexy, it's not the most elegant cleanser out there, but it does a great job, and it's great for your skin. So I use that. I mean, I've tried other products too, but I just keep going back to it. I do now use an oil-based cleanser for my eye makeup. I have ruined a lot of towels getting my mascara on them. So I do find just a quick little, one little pump of the oil-based cleanser. Like I think right now I'm using CeraVe. Rub that on my eyes. That's a great way to remove makeup without it getting on your towels, and it doesn't need to be complicated. I really love CeraVe. I just love the jar moisturizer that they have. I just think it's so great and light. And I've really gotten into La Roche-Posay's Cicaplast gel. I find is really light. I can't stand thick, heavy stuff on my skin. And then sunscreen wise, I love Elta MD's sunscreen. I feel like it's super light. And La Roche-Posay, those are kind of my go-to for sunscreens. But that's what I do. And I've recently started using exosomes from a company called Plated. And we didn't have time to delve into that. That's a little bit like the Wild Wild West. So I hesitate to even bring that up because there's a lot of gimmicks out there. But I do think this is something we're going to be hearing a lot more about. But that's kind of my splurge. But it's a great product, and I've really been enjoying that. So that's my skincare.
Nice. We'll have to revisit and go deep dive into exosomes and all the other things that we could
Yeah.
talk about. But thank you so much for your time, Dr. Mina. My last question for you is, where can people get connected, learn more about you, and hear your podcast?
Oh, well, I would love that. Thank you for having me on. I love your podcast. So such great and inspiring episodes. I'm at Dr. Mina Skin on all the platforms. And my podcast is called The Skin Real, REAL. And if you are wondering about kind of what's your skincare style, I have a fun quiz you can take at theskinreal.com/style.
Amazing. Dr. Mina, thank you so much. You were incredible. And I just so appreciate all your insights into all things skin. So thank you again.
Thanks, Allie. This was fun.